At 680 CJOB. According to a Winnipeg organization that helps people and families, there has been a steep increase in family violence during the pandemic. The St. Raphael Wellness Center points to the pandemic, saying that isolation, housing issues, financial insecurity have been significant factors. On the line with us now is Rosetta Troya, who is an addiction counselor at the center. Good morning.
Good morning, Clay.
Can you explain further how this pandemic has affected the lives of the families that you deal with? Many of these families suffer from addiction and other issues, and sometimes, and I've talked to Winnipeg police about this, it can lead to domestic violence cases.
Yeah, so obviously the pandemic has had an effect on everybody. Isolation, kids suddenly being home, trying to navigate homeschooling and all these things. And then, of course, everybody knows a family or a neighbor that's been affected by mental health or addiction. And what's been happening is that with the pandemic, they're saying that there's an increase, obviously, in mental health issues. And so often where there's mental health issues, there's addiction, and where there's addiction, there's violence. And so all of these extra stressors on families and parents and kids and is causing a huge increase. I mean, already they say about every 6 days a woman is murdered with intimate partner violence. You add the pandemic, and now suddenly women who are abused or men and children are now stuck at home with the person that's abusing them. And they can't get out. They can't get their support. They can't see family and friends. So the violence has increased greatly. And I've seen it just with the people I'm helping.
That you're helping. So can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, our boss, Colleen, has allowed us to work after hours, and I have my cell phone available to people so that if they're in crisis, they can call. At many hours of the night, I'm getting pictures of women who are being abused. I'm getting calls that things are happening at home, and someone called CFS because there was violence in the home. A huge thing is there's a big increase in adult children going home because of the pandemic, because of housing. If they were if they were homeless or unemployed and now they go home, and these adult children either go through withdrawals and have emotions they have to deal with or have to find ways to get substances. And when the family isn't willing to help, it becomes a very, difficult situation, and the violence is increasing against parents, emotional abuse, all sorts of things. But myself, I'm getting calls or Facebook messengers. It's happening to people probably about every second day someone reaches out to me.
Wow. So if a woman or I guess a man is the victim of domestic abuse, physical or verbal, I mean, how can the center help?
Yeah, so it's super important to remember that men can also be abused. We often just think about the women, but obviously it happens more to women. But our center helps a couple of different ways. What we do is, first and foremost, no judgment. We offer support. You call, and the biggest thing is that initial move to tell someone. And then our job from there is to just support with no judgment and then find extra resources above and beyond ourselves that can help someone. And then we also work on the actual issues because, again, where there's violence and abuse, there's often trauma, addiction, mental health. And so then we work at the core problems. And if it's something that we need extra support for, we reach out to the other professionals that can help people and help them navigate their situation. The big thing is in situations like this, it's scary and people feel alone. And so our job is to just make sure they're heard and make sure that they get the help they need. And we work at the real core. We get them the help for the initial crisis. We also work with them, the trauma, the addiction, and everything else going on that causes things like this at home.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's such an important thing to talk about.
Thank you so much, Clay. Have a great day.
Rosetta Troya is an addiction counselor at the St. Raphael Wellness Center here in Winnipeg. Their number is 204-956-6650. I'm going to throw that out again, 204-956-6650. It's coming up to sports time. Stay with us.
The Toronto Argonauts have